Welcome to Bleav in 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Tasia Dash. Bleav in 76ers is presented by betonline.ag.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the year. It's football season, and you know what that means? It means it's time to get in on BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. BetOnline. The game starts here. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bleav in 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash here with legendary 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother Tasia Dash. Guys, we took a couple weeks off. Sixers news kind of got a little slow a little bit, but now we're picking things back up here. Less than a month away. Yeah, a little regroup. Less than a month away from the 76ers training camp, which last year we were in Colorado State. This year, we're going to Bahamas. I think the Atlantis Resort, I believe, is what I saw. We'll be there from October 1st to October 5th in the Bahamas for training camp, so that'll be fun. But yeah, this week we saw Sixers kind of get in the gym a little bit, doing some stuff together. I saw some of our new acquisitions in the gym. But yeah, so things are starting to ramp up a little bit. Football season's beginning, all this good stuff. So it's good to get the show back up and running again. And yeah, so how's everybody doing? Eric, Tasia?
Doing good, man. Can't complain. It's getting close. Once football comes, what's right behind it.
Yep. It's real sports season, baby. Just take your foot off the pedal. Like you just glide downhill now for the next 7 months.
Yeah.
More, actually. 8, 9 months. Ooh.
Yeah, I guess that for basketball, once you get that media day, the Sixers media day, that's when you know, okay, things are actually starting to pop off. Here we're getting the But yeah, so with this episode, and we're going to try to do this a little bit more throughout the year, is getting questions from you guys, the fans. So we posted a topic on our YouTube community page, as well as our Twitter account, asking questions from you all to hear from you guys, see what you guys want to hear from us, from Eric and Tasia. Yeah, we got a couple questions from our guys on Twitter and on YouTube for today's episode. So be fun.
We do read the comments, guys. So anytime, any video, put your questions in there, and we'll get them in here.
For sure. So yeah, we'll begin with our first question. This is from Twitter. This is from @MismatchPhilly on Twitter. So his question is, what do you think is the thing Maxey needs to work on the most to take that next step as a player? Is it becoming more of a passer now that he has a reliable third option in Paul George? Or is it working on his defense so he isn't the weakest defender on the floor and doesn't get attacked in the pick and roll?
Go ahead, Tasia. You got it.
All right. So I think, to be fair to him, I think he has improved at both things. Assist-wise, I'll start there. So 2 years ago to last year, he jumped from 3.5 to 6.2, and that was really his first real starting full season as a point guard. He was a rookie, young buck, and then he had James Harden there. So he kind of didn't have a full-time defined role as a point. Last year he had that. 6.2 put him at 20th, tied with SGA. I don't think anyone's questioning SGA's passing ability. So they're averaging the same amount of assists. I think it should go up with the more weapons we have. I don't know what kind of exact role they're going to give him and tell him, he's going to shoot less, shoot more, be more efficient. Let's just say he goes up a little bit, right? Let's say he goes up, half to 1 assist a game. We're talking about 7 assists a game. That would put him at 10th, top 10 in the league. So I think he's right on where he should be. He averaged 6.8 in the playoffs, which put him at, I think, 7th overall in the playoffs. Defensively, I'd probably say that's where I'd want him to improve more. Not to say he hasn't been getting better every year. I think he has, and the coaching staff has said that as well. But if you look around the starting 5, we have a lot of good defenders in our team. Even the PG, Caleb, and Embiid off the bat. Kelly being the other one who's really long. But if you look at the smaller guards around the league, even if we plan to do a lot of switching, he's going to have to guard those guys. He's going to have to guard Lillard in the playoffs. He's going to have to guard Drew in the playoffs. He's going to have to guard Brunson in the playoffs. Even if we have other guys on him, he's going to end up being on these guys, right? So he will need to improve just overall defensively for us to, I think, to take another step.
Well, when you say assists, I think if he plays in more of a playmaking role, the assists will go up. I do think with Paul there, his role needs to kind of change a little bit into more playmaking instead of more scoring. I think he tries to score and get assists from that. But I do think that he needs to kind of be more of a playmaker where you're initiating and putting yourself in position where teams have to make a decision whether they're going to double you. And I think a lot of more maybe chasing matchups, more pick and roll where a guy struggles defensively in pick and rolls where you kind of single out guys. So I think a more constructive effort to attack defenses or teams individually. So that may come from the team. It may come more from Maxey. But I think kind of chasing situations and putting yourself in a situation where you're kind of playmaking a little more. I think the assists can come like that as well. Because I think what he's done in the past is he's just, I'm a scorer. I'm going to go score, and then, scorers get assists. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to get 5 or 6 assists if you have the basketball and you're able to make plays. So even though 6 assists is great for nowadays, that's not really really good as far as playmaking. It's not bad, but it's not like you wouldn't be a guy that's considered a great assist guy. You know what I'm saying? When you have guys that are the top guys are doubling that pretty much, or close to doubling that. I think he can do that. I think he can put up the numbers that Trae Young put up. I think he's capable of doing that. Even though Trae Young is really, really good. I do Bleav that he's capable of doing that. But the question goes offensively: is he going to be less aggressive to make that happen? Less aggressive scoring to make that happen? Is he capable or able to maintain that same level of scoring and pick his assist up? I guess that's what remains to be seen. But I do think that the playmaking assist numbers, I expect them to go up. I expect that to happen. How much? Not sure, but I would rather see obviously rather see an increase instead of a decrease in that number.
Before you go to defense, I want to ask a question about that. Do you think Maxey probably has maybe the hardest job as far as wearing multiple hats due to him having to kind of be probably the most facilitating person on the team as far as assist goes, but also stay aggressive scoring to be a threat? So he has to wear multiple hats, right? Whereas everyone else is kind of they have their main role on the team that they need to do, right?
I mean, when you a top guy in the league, then this is what you have.
Yeah.
Is it any different than what Brunson is asked to do in New York? Probably less, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of his assists or lack of assists, as one could say, comes from the fact that the best player kind of gets his own shots a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like Joel don't really need, at most times, he don't really need a pick and roll to get a shot. Or he don't need you to play making and hit him and then he get a shot. Like, he's more of an ISO post up, more so than he is catch and shoot or catch and play. So a lot of those assists, kind of the numbers can be kind of going down with that. So I play with AI, so I would pass the ball a lot to AI, but a lot of those points wouldn't be assists because he would make a move or catch or dribble and then score. Versus playing, say, for instance, with Ray Allen, who's more of a catch and shoot guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's different. So you making the right play and you hitting the guy, but it may not always turn into an assist. So that's kind of a reason that numbers can kind of be lower too. We'll see if Paul could help that because he could catch and shoot, but he can also, catch and dribble too.
Yeah.
So, but defensively, I definitely need to see an improvement. I think he has to take the challenge to, at times, guard the top guys because a lot of times what you have, and the reason why I say that is a lot of times when you defend that top guy, most times if they miss, that top guy has to defend you. So they don't really cross match up a lot on misses. So now he's coming down and he has to defend you. So you have a chance to get him in foul trouble, make him work, do a lot of things other than him going and guard someone where he can just basically sit and help and kind of rest a little bit. So that will kind of put some pressure on guys who have to defend him also.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be willing and ready to take that challenge. So I do think that he needs to kind of take that challenge a little more, get better on the pick and roll defense. That's something I see a lot of the guards struggle with in the league right now because they switch so much. Yeah. But I do think that, that right there, taking the challenge to do that and also kind of play bigger. Like if I watch Maxey defend, he almost comes off as a guy that's small, but he's taller than me, but he comes off as a small defender. You know what I'm saying? I know he probably wasn't as strong as I was as far as strength wise in holding off guys, but he does come off as a small defender, even though he's not.
He's pretty well built too. Actually,
that's what I'm saying. He's not a small guy for his position, but he comes off as small. And that kind of tells me that he's not an aggressive defender.
I mean, 6'2", 200, 205 is like a football player size almost. So
yeah, he's not.
I mean, that's not small.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw last year. We saw obviously increases in the assists from Maxey as well as Embiid. And Embiid said he wanted to be more of a playmaker last year. So do you think there's a possibility both those guys could have an increase in assists this year from last year to this year?
Say it again.
Do you think there's a chance that Embiid and Maxey can both have more assists than they had last year per game?
I think it's possible, but I think the thing that's going to really dictate that is how well we kind of can take care of the basketball, and also if we kind of pick up our pace. I'm interested to see, and that's the question I don't know. I don't know how our pace is going to be with Paul and with Joel. I think that it's possible if we try to play at a faster pace, but I'm not sure if that's going to be the route. That's sort of a wait and see for me.
Yeah. So wait and see till the preseason game. Would that be something we'd see in a preseason game, Eric, to see if we're going to play with a faster pace? Would they practice that during the preseason games?
I would think you would want to kind of execute a little bit in the preseason. So I would think you would see it right away. The only issue is how much are they going to play? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it may be something you don't really see until, games really, regular season games start.
Yeah. All right. So that was a good question there by @MismatchPhilly on Twitter. Okay, so our next question is from our guy @YeahBoy Lil on Twitter. He's a big fan of the show. His question to you guys is, which role player will have the largest role on the squad this season? Love the pod. Appreciate you, buddy.
Go ahead. You got it.
Let's are we saying like role players anyone outside of the big three?
I would say outside of those three. Yeah.
Anyone outside of those three? Okay. I wasn't sure we just do bench or okay. So I'll do anyone outside of those three. A lot of good candidates for this, actually, but I'll go with Martin. I'll go with Caleb Martin. And I think what's so important for him is that, speaking of wearing many hats, whereas I think Oubre provides a lot more slashing, a lot more dunks, I think Martin's going to have to hit open threes. He's going to have to really, like, that catch and shoot that we talked about for him like a month or so ago. That's going to be very important for him. Like, he's going to have a lot of open shots night in, night out. And I think those are probably going to be the majority of his shots that he takes, open catch and shoot threes. So I think he's got to hit those. I think it's really important that he does. And then also, since we are an undersized starting five, people have him slated at starting power forward, but people also say they want to see him guard Brunson a decent amount of the game. So that's a big change. So night in, night out, you're going to have him guard fours. You're going to have him guard Brunsons. That's going to put him in just wearing a lot of different hats defensively. Luckily, he came from Miami, so he's well prepared to take on a lot of new challenges. Spo gets his guys prepared on a night-night basis. So I think he has the right mindset coming into it, but I would think that he's someone that's going to be vital to a lot of the success as a role player. What do you think, Eric?
Man, I think Martin is kind of the usual suspect because he's a new guy in town with such a big role. Mm-hmm. I mean, you kind of hinted on Martin, so I'll kind of go a different direction with two people. And I'll say Kelly is one that I think that because he was there previously and with a different dynamic. So how does he fit now? Because he's a very crucial part to the success that we need to have. Mm-hmm. So you come in and you're on the same team by name, but it's a different team. So what do you do now with Paul George on the team? Like, how do you make that fit now? And Caleb Martin on the team, which are basically sort of around the same size and could be looked at to do the same things in certain ways. So how does that fit? Because neither guy is really coming in and kind of giving us a change up of being able to give Maxey a break and bring the ball up the court, initiate the offense. Like, none of them are really considered that type of guy. So finding a real balance with those three. I mean, I think you said it a lot about Martin, and I think Kelly is the other guy. And also, I got to state that I know even though people look like Tasia look at his salary, in some ways, Paul's role, because he hasn't been a number 3 guy going into the season. With quotes, because that's what he is supposed to be, but we don't know. So if he is particularly played like that, then he becomes more of a role player,
like a hybrid,
less of the guy, sort of the guy sometimes, the role player at other times.
Yeah.
So, and how well he does that when he's not getting the basketball as much. Does he still impact the game? And he will impact the game, but how much does he impact the game?
Stay engaged too.
He's not getting 20, 25 touches, 30 touches a game. So I think that we have to kind of put that on notice too. And if Paul, it happens to be the kind of play into sort of the number 2, then how much of a role does Maxey play? And how more effective can he be as the number 3 guy? Like we're just assuming that Maxey's 2 and Paul is 3, but salaries could say differently. And Play could say differently.
Yeah. My honorable mention would have been Drummond, just because we're so undersized, and Drummond's going to have a crucial role because he's going to need to make up for the lack of size and rebounding when Embiid's not out there, when Embiid's active, and on nights where Embiid's not playing at all. He's got to step up and be super center and grab 15 boards a night. So that's just a crucial role for him because he's like a part-time starter pretty much. Like you could already – Drummond's coming in thinking, okay, I'm probably going to start like 10 to 15 games at the very least this year, right? So off the bat, I'm starting that many. On top of that, you might have nights where Embiid, just plays a little less, right? So, Drummond's a crucial player as well for rebounding.
I think talking about role players. I don't know how big of a role this guy's going to get, but I think this was a couple weeks ago. Eric Wintation and I did a show when you were gone. It was right around the time we signed Gershon Yabusele from France, the guy who tore it up during the Olympics. What do you make of him? Because there's a lot of fans out there who do want him to get some time starting at 4 during the season, depending on matchup. Could you see him getting a starting role at the 4 sometimes, depending on matchup, or how do you see him fitting in?
I could see it happening, but it's I don't think anything's going to happen beginning of the year. I'll be very surprised if we start the season like that. And if we do, that means he was really killing camp.
Yeah.
So I think it could be earned, but I think it's going to take time because it's how Joel plays and how Paul and like how they all mix. Like it's going to take some time, but it would not surprise me if he kind of carved out a role at a position that we kind of know from the standpoint of traditional 4s we could be lacking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the arguments that I've seen from a lot of fans is, we signed Kelly Oubre late in the offseason last year, and then he started, and we didn't think he was going to start right off the bat, and he did. So there's maybe potential of that.
Yeah.
All right, so that was a good question by our guy at Lil Nell on Twitter. Okay, so our next one, we got a fellow Chiefs fan, I guess a Chiefs Sixers fan, I guess. Question from at Inside Arrowhead on Twitter. Is it fair to say that the season would be a failure if they don't win a championship, or is it a success just by making it to the Eastern Conference Finals?
You want me to go ahead again? Or you want to go ahead? You go ahead.
I'll go. Yes, it's a failure if they don't win a championship. Yes.
Ooh.
It's a bigger failure if we don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Bigger failure. But just making it to the Eastern Conference Finals would show that you did better, but it will not be any happy people. Just make it to the Eastern Conference Finals because we've seen what the teams that have won the last couple of years. We've seen the teams that have gone. We've seen the Miami Heat go to the finals. We've seen Boston go to the finals. So I think the only thing outside of a championship is going to the finals and losing in the finals. And sometimes it comes down to how you lose in the finals too.
Sure.
So I would say, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Finals or bust. Wouldn't even necessarily say championship, but finals.
Going to the finals.
I don't think you have Maxey and Joel and you pay all those guys and you pay Paul and give him 4 years to say that hey, Eastern Conference Finals is fine. That can't be the approach.
I agree it's not the goal just to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but personally for me as a fan, I would not see it as a total failure. It's year one. So we have these guys on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's year one, and the guy that you gave money is getting older. He's not in his prime. Yeah. So year one is very important. Year one could be your best chance.
They got to get it together quick then, don't they? So,
but I'm just saying, year one could be your best chance.
it could be. But the team that our biggest rival are older than us, and they're getting older. So, Boston,
Who was that?
Drew's not getting any younger, and Porzingis' injuries aren't getting any less. So that's a problem for them too. So as we get older, so are other teams.
Yeah, but the difference is they went to a final and they went to 2 finals and they won a championship. And we're talking about the Eastern Conference Finals. What do you think Boston's goal is?
Well, now they won.
What do you think? I'm just saying. Well, what do you think Boston and Milwaukee would think is a failure for their team?
Both those teams have already won a championship, though.
That's my point. So their failure is not winning a championship, and our failure is supposed to be just not making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But them 2 teams are the team we're competing against.
But it's an improvement from what we've done, right? Like if they don't win,
it's
that's
an
less
improvement with the same team. We don't have the same team. It's a different outlook.
But I could also say that's an excuse as to why we wouldn't win. It's a brand new team yet again, right?
No, you're not making them changes. You're not making them changes to stay where you at. With a brand new team, you're making those changes to. You're making those changes to. But no. You're making those changes to accelerate where you are.
Yeah,
and go further.
Difference. 2 rounds difference is a big difference.
That's why I said the finals could be okay, just making it to the finals and losing in the finals. But I don't think Eastern Conference Finals and losing the Eastern Conference Finals is a successful year. I don't think with this team that's a successful year.
But going to the Eastern Conference Finals it's a 2-round upgrade, though, right? That's something Joel's never done before.
2-round upgrade from last year?
Yeah, well, last year, yeah. Yeah, last year. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, but we've had number 1 seeds and didn't get to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's why we're saying the Eastern Conference Finals is such a upgrade. But that it's not because we didn't get to the Eastern Conference Finals because the team that was supposed to get there with home court advantage didn't make it happen. Yeah. So since they didn't make it happen, now we're gonna make it seem like it's great for somebody to come later and do what they should have done.
Well, I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying it's not a total failure.
It's not. That's like with Paul George right now at this part of his career, and Joel with his, let's say it, his injury history. Yeah. And we got a young guy, Maxey. For us to say that not winning a championship or not going to the finals is okay. Like I don't know. I'm right where Milwaukee and Boston are. That's our main competition in the Eastern Conference. And I know for a fact, and I don't talk to anybody on their team, anybody in their organization, but I know from watching that I guarantee you their goal is to win an NBA championship, and anything less than that is not considered good. That would be something like a disappointment. Yeah. Going to the East, I guarantee you, just making it to the Eastern Conference Finals with those teams would not be considered. Win. I'm just saying, if you make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and you're Boston, and you're what you've just done, or you're Milwaukee and you went and got Dame and you got Giannis, just make it to the Eastern Conference Finals with all those guys. Let's assume everybody's healthy, and those guys are healthy, and you just make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, oh man, we tried. Boston was just better than us. That's no.
I mean, I think I'll be disappointed if we don't. But
I'm just saying, but how are we failure? How are we saying we want to? How are we saying we want to win a championship? But it's not a disappointment if we don't make it.
It's disappointment. It's a disappointment. I don't think it's a total failure, though. I think there's a difference. If I don't,
well, I mean, it kind of depends on what you can. Yeah, I mean, you could. Well, that being said, I mean, going to the second round can be considered not a failure.
That's something that Joel's done, though,
because
right?
You're doing something that I'm just saying, but you're doing something that more than half of the teams. I understand it, but what I'm saying is you're doing something that only 8 teams in the league do when you go to the second round.
Yeah, it's an improvement from last season.
So I'm just saying,
not
like,
enough for me, though. That's what I'm saying.
22 teams didn't do what you did if you went to the second round. But we're saying that's a failure.
Yes.
So, okay, that's what I'm saying. So you still did better than 22 teams because by going to the second round, and you're telling me one more round is better, and that's not.
It's something Joel's never done before. So yeah, I mean that would be a
so that's just because that's the thinking of a team that's never made it.
Yeah, we have kind of a loser mentality. Yeah, so
that's what I'm saying. So the thinking of a team that's never made it. So you can't tell me a team that's made it will ever think like that. So why should we think like that?
I would just like to do at least better than Joel has ever done before with this 76ers. And if we make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and you say the next year's a failure if we don't go to the finals, then I would totally agree with that because I want to at least do better than what we did. That's why I'm saying it's not a failure. Do I want to win? Am I disappointed if we don't? Yeah, no, I am.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is how you look at it. Like failure is such a strong word. So
it is
failure,
a strong word.
I think it's a strong word. So I think it becomes down to the individual and how they consider it. Because what I'm saying, because some teams making the playoffs is not considered a failure. So each round you go, it kind of depends on who you are. Golden State Warriors team last year was a team that didn't get in the playoffs, or you know what I'm saying, but they were around their seed the majority of the year. So people are judging them based on what they did previously. So it's other teams that were right there with them that wouldn't be considered a failure. But for them, it was.
Yeah, I think when you can look around and say the cliche, no excuses, we would have an excuse. It's a brand new team. That's
not an excuse, though. That's not an excuse
because
technically
zero excuses.
So Boston was technically a new team also.
They added a couple players. They didn't revamp.
Yeah, two of their starting 5 were new guys.
Two starters.
Dude, our third longest tenured Sixer. Hold on. Our third longest tenured Sixer is Kelly Oubre right now. He's only been with us for a year, dude.
Starters. They added 2 starters.
Yeah, Drew and KP were a big part of that reason why they won that championship.
We added players 4 for the 14.
I'm not knocking what we did. I'm saying Boston was considered a new team also as well. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, that they were. We're even more revamped than them, though. We took that to another degree, right?
We got 2 new starters also.
Yeah, our entire bench is brand new. Everybody. No one played for us last year. We have no continuity at all with our bench.
Lowry.
I mean, he might be our second string point guard. Maybe we'll see. We got a lot of competition at point guard.
I understand that, but we can't sit up here.
Wait, hold on. Lowry showed up like 3 weeks before the season ended. What?
We can't sit up here and say that we wouldn't got our free agent prize and then come back and say, well, we got a different team. That don't sound right.
No, it's not going to feel good. But I mean, now the next season is absolutely no excuses at all because you've been together for a year.
So a year older for Paul is the expectation is higher.
It's a 4-year deal, man. We have him for 4 years.
I'm just saying. So a year older at 35 or 35 instead of 34 or 36 instead of 35, the expectation is going to be that he's going to do more.
Yes. Totally. 100%.
He must be drinking that LeBron James juice or something. I don't know, man.
I hope so. Maybe hopefully his usage goes down a little bit so we can keep him fresh. Him and Joel.
Well, he started the no sugar diet this offseason, so hopefully that bodes well for him.
There you go.
I will say I feel like our franchise has made it kind of like put this whole getting past the second round like on like its pedestal. Like I mean, Nick Nurse mentioned that in his introductory press conference that he wants to, his main goal is obviously win a championship, and to do that is to get past the second round. So I feel like because of those type of comments, Embiid obviously never making it past, I feel like that is like for I guess for fans to kind of rationalize the season. Like, oh, well, at least we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I feel like that. I think if we get to that point, at least I feel like the fan base won't be as toxic as they usually are when the season ends. If we did get to that, I would say I would take that as a win. But yeah, obviously I want to win a championship or at least get to the finals. But what do you make of that, Eric? The fact that the team itself places such an emphasis on the getting past the second round portion of things. Do you think that helps with kind of that kind of, I don't know if it hurts the narrative of the seasons and stuff, but like, do you think that's they place such an emphasis on that where that's become like the pinnacle for us?
What's that? Say it again.
Like making it a past second round, how the franchise talks about that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everyone that kind of pay attention and cheer and root for the Sixers are very aware of what we did previously. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we're all aware of it.
Right.
So that becomes the focus because just like in life, we all want to be better and do better. So you want to see the improvement. So that seems to always be the bar for your next season or your next venture. So that's an easy kind of target. We just unfortunately have had the same target for consecutive years. And that's why I'm saying, unlike Tasia, that should no longer be the target. The way things went down and what we did and what we're trying to do, the target should be above that and beyond that. But I do understand how someone would say, hey, we hadn't made it past the second round, so we've improved. Because they kind of feel like we've done something that we hadn't done since Joel been there. But I know it's no guarantee once you go that you'll go back to next year. Every time I went, I didn't go back to next year. And I went with every team I played on. And every time I went to the finals, I never returned to next year.
Let me also make it clear, too. I'm a fan saying that. I don't think anyone on the team, coach, player, second round should not be coming out of any of their mouths. They need to be championship or bust mentality. Whether I, as a fan, am happy with going.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. When I was speaking more of how I see it.
No. I know. No, I was talking about more
sure the players and
Nurse
coaches have like that.
Yeah, but Nurse even like
they believe that
second round in his journey.
I believe that they'll come out. We want to win the championship. I think that'll be the talk.
It has to be.
It has to be the talk. I mean, you can't shoot for anything less. But I do feel that they have to kind of make sure that that's the common goal.
Yeah.
But because your top competition in the Eastern Conference going into the season, we all know that that's where they are.
Yep. And they've all been there, Milwaukee and Boston. Yep. All right, so we got a final question here, and that question was from @InsideArrowhead on Twitter. Appreciate the question. All right, so our final question here is from iKicks76 on YouTube. He's been a loyal follower of ours on YouTube for a while. So he's got a question. So with a pretty excited offseason and signing players that could take the team to the next level, I have questions on who make the final decision on signing players. Is it the GM, coach, owner? What happens if the GM wants to sign one player and the coach wants to sign another player? Who makes that final decision? And then that's one question. And the other question is, and why didn't AI and Mr. Snow get the help they needed back in the 2000-2001 season before going to the finals? Thank you.
Well, as far as the finals, I mean, we I can't say that we would have necessarily beat the Lakers. All I can say is like, I wish we could have played them healthy. That's I wish I know it would have been a different outcome. Maybe they were still been victorious overall, but I do believe that we would have put up more of a challenge. I know I would have been better if I didn't have a broken ankle. So George Lynch didn't really play. So I just think if we were healthy, we would have gave them a better challenge. I mean, they had never beat us in Philly before the finals, as is. So we knew we'd play well at home. I do believe if we were healthy at the end of the season, we would have had home court advantage because we ended up having the same record as those guys.
Yeah.
So a lot of things could have changed with that. So I think we were built to kind of win it if we had the kind of health that we wanted. As far as decision making, in the NBA is no set way of how decisions are made. It's no blueprint. This is how you do it. This guy's in charge. It's really up to the discretion of each particular team. You can have a guy I'll give you an example. Larry Brown was considered the president. Billy King was considered the general manager, but Coach Brown was the president and head coach, which his position was technically above Billy. But Billy was the one, and the personnel people were the ones that were gathering all the information to make deals and transactions and all that, and kind of bringing it to Coach Brown. And then Coach Brown may make the decision, he may not. Or I think it came a point where Billy kind of made the decision and Coach Brown just yay or nay, or they collectively kind of make the decision. It could go either way. So I think like now it's one guy that makes the call. I think everyone else kind of brings them information. One makes the call, but then that one guy has to go and convince who's writing the checks, whether they want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But usually it never really gets to that point where you have to go and convince them. They usually kind of put a plan together. This is what we would like to do. This is plan A, B, C, D, kind of have plans laid out. And this is how much we think it will cost to execute these plans. Are you in agreement with these plans and this execution? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Or no, 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 yes. So it's better to kind of already know what you can do before you go out and make promises or try to recruit someone and you can't really execute it. So the plans are usually already in play. It just depends on whether you can convince a guy like Paul to come. But you kind of know what it takes. So you may say, okay, well, maybe we can get Paul for 45 a year. Well, when negotiations start, it may go down to 50. So you have to go back to who's making that money decision and say, hey, we said 45, but this is what it's going to take to get him. Are we willing to make that decision? Are we willing to make that decision today? Because we got 24 hours to decide. So that's kind of not really a negotiation, but it's sort of like convincing.
Yeah.
Because ultimately the money guy is the guy that has the last say. And while the GM or president, GM, some places GMs hire, some places presidents hire. It's kind of no set way. It's no set form. It's not like the United States where it's a president, vice president. It's not set like that. It's kind of, you have your title, but title don't necessarily mean what you're required to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, that you get all the credit just because of your title, who's higher, who's lower. So it's really up to ownership and how they decide it. And usually the pay grade is kind of how you can tell the difference. But I do believe that some cases coaches have a lot of say. But coaches are on different levels. Nurse may have, I think he has some decision making and kind of make his recommendations, but he's not like Pop. You know what I'm saying? Like Pop is making the final call. probably.
Exactly.
On most cases. So it's different. It's different.
So basically, when they show up at Paul's house with Dr. J taking their shoes off, they pretty much knew what they were going to sign at that moment.
Sound good.
Oh, you want that much? Okay, put
Doc.
my shoes back on. Put my shoes back on. We'll be on our way.
Yeah, I think that helped when Doc showed up, but that how much money he was getting made it kind of a reality.
Mm-hmm.
That extra year, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that was big reality.
Definitely helps.
I think Maury's talked about this before. I think he's been asked similar questions too, and I think he says it's kind of a collective, right? There's no like my decision, your decision. They all kind of sit down, him, Nick, Elton, and the staff, and just kind of go over all of it. Now, I'm sure at some point they have disagreed on people.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like you can try to come up with the plan like that, but at the end of the day, it's someone's going to have to take the initiative to kind of be like, this is what we're going to do, because you're not going to always be on the same page. You may have guys that want to go one route, 3 guys want to go one route, and 2 other guys want to go a different route. So how do you collectively bring it into a decision if one guy isn't taking the charge? So one guy has to take charge initially.
Like the one signs off on it. But
yeah,
now everyone,
you got to take it. Somebody got to take it to the main guy.
Yep.
Everybody's not taking it. He's not listening to everybody.
All right. Well, that was iKick76 from our YouTube channel. One of our subscribers. Appreciate all the questions, guys. We really enjoyed the mailbag questions, getting questions from you guys, our followers. You guys watch this video, send any questions. We'll try to implement some of these questions as we go along and get ready for the season. But guys, that does it for us. We hope everybody enjoys their weekend. We will see you guys next week and some more questions from you guys. So take it easy, fellas.
All right, guys.
Take it easy.